All right, so here we're going to do another sine law. This time we're going to solve for a side instead of an angle. So again, when we look at labeling, little a, this is little b, and that would be c. So right now we're going to solve for a. Again, already thinking before we begin, if this is 27 and this is 3, if I have an angle of 54, we're gonna already look and say a has got to be bigger than 3. That's just, we start looking at that right away. So again, sine law. Keeping in mind that we're solving for a side, so we want to put our sides on the top. So here we have b over sine 27 equals a. Oops, sorry, I should have done that. Let's keep things consistent. For sine b equals a over sine a. So again, once you set those things up, you can see what needs to be put in. There should be 3 pieces of information that we're solving for, or sorry, solving for 1 using 3 pieces of information. So we have b, which is 3, over sine 27. I'm going to use my finger this time because it was a little loud with my stylus. And then we're solving for a over sine 54. It's going to be a little bit messier though because I'm using my finger. So what you're going to want to do is do sine, actually no, we'll actually do 54 over here. So we have sine 54, and we want to get rid of that. So you ask yourself, what is a and sine 54 doing with one another? Multiplying, dividing, adding, or subtracting. And since we put it in the numerator, we know that those are dividing. So the opposite of dividing is to multiply. So you're going to multiply both sides by sine 54. And whatever I do to one side, oh, sorry about my pen. Sometimes it's just not coming up. 54. We have to do it to the other. So sine 54. These are going to cross out because I have the same thing in the numerator and denominator. They cross out. So then we can go sine 54 multiplied by 3, because they're right beside each other. And then we're going to divide the whole thing by sine 27. Keeping in mind that making sure your calculator is on degrees. So sine 54 is, and you can write out the decimals if you want. They should all be decimals. 890 times 3. And then sine 27 is decimal 45399. But don't feel like you have to. If you want to do it all as one operation on your calculator, that's perfectly fine. So sine. And we can answer of 5.346 is equal to a. And again, going back to that beginning, if a is 5.3, does that make sense? Well, it's bigger than 3, and that would make sense because the opposite sides are proportional to that. So 5.3 is a very reasonable answer. You can see how solving for sides is much easier with the sine law than it is solving for an angle, because I don't have to do that sine inverse piece. So remember, when I do sine inverse, I put the value back in and then solve again. Okay, hopefully that helped.